Hi, welcome back to another episode of Anime Explained, where we explain things about anime that you may or may not have known. And today we're talking about Dr. Slump. Dr. Slump is one of those animes that is just so strange it's as hard to describe in a few sentences. It's by the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, and it tells the story of a mad scientist who creates a race of female cyborgs as humans go extinct. He then creates a young girl named Pine, who will eventually become the savior of humanity. This is all while battling rival scientists, gangsters, and beings from outer space. So, yeah, it's pretty weird. The first thing we need to address with Dr. Slump is the fact that Akira Toriyama made this. If you don't know who that is, he is also responsible for Dragon Ball. If you know what Dragon Ball is, then you probably already know that it got pretty weird as it went on. But Dr. Slump is a whole different kind of weird. Dr. Slump is more akin to something like Outrageous Fortunes Cookie and Cream or Gintama, in the sense that it has a lot of fan service but is still funny and entertaining regardless if you are a guy or a girl. That being said, when watching Dr. Slump, there were definitely times where I felt like I was watching something that was originally targeted towards adult men, not unlike Ranma 1/2, which we did an episode on a while ago. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this show a little bit. I mentioned that Akira Toriyama is the creator of both Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump. The original run of Dr. Slump came out in Weekly, Shonen Jump, the same manga anthology series that Dragon Ball was originally serialized in. Because of this, it had a huge impact on the creation of Dragon Ball. In fact, many of the characters in Dragon Ball make cameo appearances in Dr. Slump, and vice versa. There's even a character in Dr. Slump who is basically Bulma, but with pink hair. Fun fact, this character's name is actually Bulma. Later, a spin-off manga titled Dragon Ball, Origins to the Great Saiyaman, was released. This manga adapts the first Dr. Slump special, which means that the events of this special take place in the Dragon Ball universe. So, let's talk about the plot, because it is definitely strange. In the future, humans have gone extinct for reasons that are never fully explained. Mad scientist Senbei Norimaki is confronted by his evil genius arch-rival, General Healer, who reveals that he has created a race of female cyborgs that will bear children with the last human males. This plan would ensure the continuation of the species, but only if Noromaru agrees to marry Healer's daughter Arale. The two end up fighting over this, but it is interrupted by a massive explosion. Somehow, despite the explosion destroying the entire lab, Noromaru and General Healer survive. When they come to, they find that their labs have been destroyed. Noromaru is unable to create any more cyborg androids, but he does manage to create one final cyborg girl, whom he names Pine. Pine ends up growing at an accelerated rate and soon becomes a young girl, completely forgetting her origins. She goes off to school and makes friends, while Noromaru runs a small shop out of his home. One day, aliens arrive on Earth looking for a mate for their prince. They end up kidnapping Parley, bringing her back to their spaceship. This is where we meet the rest of the gang. Tights is Parley's older sister, who ends up helping Parley escape. While searching for food on Earth, Tights ends up meeting Freddy Terracado, who is also searching for food after having eaten nothing but pudding for the past 6 years. Terracado decides to follow Tights back to the hideout and instantly falls in love with her, much to the annoyance of Midori, another resident of the hideout. Soon enough, the group ends up coming into conflict with more space aliens. The prince had sent out more ships to find him a wife, and had apparently developed feelings for Parley. Luckily, Pine shows up in time to save the day by using her super strength to destroy all of the spaceships. This, of course, angers the prince, who challenges Pine to a fight. Using her newly developed super speed, Pine is able to defeat the prince. This causes the prince to forfeit his claim to Parley and return home. After this incident, Parley decides to live out the rest of her days on Earth with her friends. However, the relative peace doesn't last long. One day, Arale shows up at the hideout looking for Parley. After some convincing, she manages to get Parley to return home with her. Upon arriving, Parley finds out that her father had gone missing, and that the house had been taken over by gangsters. While trying to cook dinner, Parley accidentally burns the house down. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, she gets kidnapped by the gangsters. Senbei ends up rescuing her, but is killed in the process. Before dying, he gives Parley one last lecture and then passes on his ability to create cyborgs to her. With this new power, Parley is able to resurrect Senbei and defeat the gangsters. And yes, this is only the first arc of the manga. There's quite a few more after this, each introducing new concepts and ideas. Some of these arcs include guest appearances from characters in Dragon Ball and other Toriyama works. I would say that the overall tone of the manga is relatively light-hearted, even though there are quite a few dark moments sprinkled throughout. There's a lot of fan service, but it's never gratuitous. Even when Dr. Slump was airing, it was praised for its writing and comedy, with some critics comparing it to Toriyama's other work, Dragon Ball. When it comes to fan service, Dr. Slump is right up there with other eki anime such as Tenchi Myoyo and Excel Saga. Despite this, it's still considered to be a good anime with plenty of fans. This might have something to do with the fact that the art style is absolutely gorgeous. A lot of the time it feels like I am watching a really well animated action movie instead of a TV show that aired in the 80s. Although it was broadcast on Fuji TV in Japan, it was later picked up by Cartoon Network and shown on their Adult Swim block in the United States. Unfortunately, this version cut out most of the fan service, and some of the jokes didn't land as well because of the English dub. This doesn't mean that the English dub is bad, it's just different. For example, the character Midori was changed to a male character named Mid. Also, the character Freddy Terracado only appears in the Japanese version. In terms of music, the original Dr. Slump anime features compositions by the legendary composer Shunji Konami, who worked on a ton of stuff in the 80s. His music is nostalgic and blends traditional Japanese instruments with more modern sounds. I highly recommend checking out the soundtrack if you ever get the chance. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for this episode. This was your host. If you liked this episode, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. Check out our other videos. Comment below to be notified when we release new videos. Subscribe to be notified when we release new videos. And as always, thanks for watching.